It's called the First Amendment.
Now police arrested the man they say is behind an attack at a hotel in Aventura. 27-year-old Ali Kadura is facing several charges, including sexual battery and kidnapping.
Authorities announced arrests in connection to a deadly shooting outside of a luxury apartment complex in Aventura last month. Surveillance video helped piece together what exactly happened.
Good morning, Nikki and Todd. Police are able to confirm to us that this all began as an attempted robbery of an Uber driver along the westbound lanes of the William Lehman Causeway that resulted in a shooting death. Let's get you now to video.
President of an Aventura condo association facing fraud charges, accused of stealing from residents.
People who own condo units in the Turnberry on the Green in Aventura were duped by their association president, according to police. They're out of more than $1.5 million in cash and assets.
New at 10 tonight, a former condo president has been arrested again in Aventura.
And now a second person is charged, accused.
Arzumanov has already been accused of stealing more than $1.5 million from his fellow residents, spending it on things like art and airplane fuel. But as he awaits trial on those state charges, he's now been hit with federal charges.
So I realize with this channel, Nicole Approves, as I start to do more of this First Amendment type stuff, I'm definitely going to, in the future, need to start to invest like Caitlin Bennett does in someone to walk around with me. Dad is better than no one. You know, he has the ability to get out his phone and start filming. But as I start to become a little bit more, investigative, I'm going to start to need to probably hire someone like she has to walk around with her. Some of you guys actually brought that to my mind in the sense of that we know I have a big mouth and we know I'm a strong personality. I'm kind of like a chihuahua. But some of you have even told me that, you know, be aware of your surroundings. You're going out there, and if you're going to start to get into the type of investigative work that she does, where she goes up to people, you need to be aware that not everyone's response is going to be conservative. In other words, they may be an insane liberal. So this is Aventura, Florida. This is the walking track here. Again, let me remind everyone and remind the viewers, who some of them are my biggest fans. This is public property. This is not private property. This is public property. And as Caitlin has seen, first of all, there's no events happening, but as Caitlin has seen in a lot of her content as well, let's say, for example, many, many years ago, I think my dad was even telling me this area, this is many, many, many years ago, when the traffic wasn't as bad, they used to actually host out this area to events. They used to have like an art festival on the street. In the event that a public area has a private event, in other words, where not necessarily a private event, but an event where someone has taken out, you know, tables and that type of stuff, it is still public property. Public property does not convert to private property. And you're seeing that in Caitlin's videos. She went again to an event in Orlando. She had a City of Orlando person. Again, this is a low-minded person who's obviously not too voiced in on the Constitution, but he told her that public property had transformed into private property because there was an event. That is not true. Public property does not transform into private property because you take out a $50 fee and set up a table. Public property is public property. So I am here, and I'm not ranting, but it's just the truth. I am here utilizing the First Amendment. I am aware of those rights. I am also doing, in a sense, news, right? I'm talking about daily life, and so I am very, very fully protected by the Constitution right now. This is an area, a walking track. That's Aventura Mall behind me. It's a very small area in terms of mileage and proximity. And there is a smoke and mirrors that goes on here. The crime rate in Aventura is up the kazoo. The city, as well as the dynamics here, in other words, tourism and different things here, probably does not want the average person to know how bad the crime rate is here in Aventura. I've gotten a lot of comments sometimes on my channel when I start to talk about Aventura. Then you'll see these vague comments. Oh, poor you, those are the rich areas. It's like, how bad can it be? So my point to you is, it should be the rich areas and this stuff shouldn't be happening. So again, this is public property. Can I go and ask someone a question? Of course. Can I try to report on the news? Of course. Can I hold up a sign and have peaceful protest? Of course. If someone perhaps called the police on you for doing just this, walking on a walking track that is public property, holding a camera. Again, some of you have said, this is such a wealthy area, or at least it's supposed to be, because that's the smoke and mirrors. This is a building that many, many, many years ago, my dad and me were actually, when we moved to Colorado, we're a little more affluent from Colorado to here, and we had the ability to sell one property and basically switch to another. So we at that time were considering moving into this building called Turnberry on the Green, which is directly across the street from the mall, on the walking track. And we said that would be really good location. And there's the ability to go on the walking track and all these things. It was a few years ago in this wealthy area that you had a boom incident occur here.
Authorities announced arrests in connection to a deadly shooting outside of a luxury apartment complex in Aventura last month. Surveillance video helped piece together what exactly happened.
So police say the victim and his girlfriend and the two suspects agreed to meet here at Turnberry on the Green. It's the building right behind me, but that meeting turned deadly.
Police say a 37-year-old man and his girlfriend walked from their apartment to Turnberry on the Green to get a package from someone. Detectives say Nicholas Singleton and Kavina Ferguson pulled up to the front of the building, and after some conversation, Singleton shot the man twice, once in the chest and then in his head.
I'm going to show some of the news footage of that, where I think that woman just walked by me. Did I capture that actually?
Yeah.
Because she's not actually talking on the phone. I said something, she goes, ha! Wealthy area that you had a. Okay, we're filming, so. You're featured. It was not that, again, I am on, let's take a look here. Public property, not on their property. It was only it says private property. Well, I'm on public property. So it was only a few years ago that they had a boom incident occur here in such a fancy area where they were not looking at me friendly. I gotta say, they were looking at me like, Again, let me remind anyone, I am on public property. I am crossing the street, I am not on their property. We had an incident right here at Turnberry on the Green, where there was an incident where there was a boom incident where there was the best way to, I'm gonna show the news footage that'll describe it better, but basically there was a gangbanger incident that occurred right here. Basically, one homie knew another homie and they walked from another location, and then there was like a boom incident that ended up here. I don't know exactly why they chose this area to have their boom incident, but I'll play the news footage for you. It'll give you a little bit more insight.
You also had the incident with the condo president.
You also, again, back when me and my dad were interested in actually living in this building, that was probably, it was many years ago. It was probably over 10 years ago. And
The arrest.
no, but that we were interested in living here. So, I mean, boards and condo boards changed. So I don't know who their board and their condo president was then. But recently, their condo president was arrested basically on, I guess to sum it up, stealing the money out of the building.
And police say his scheme went as far back as 2017. Local 10 crime specialist Bridget Matter is live in Aventura with the details.
By their association president, according to police, they're out of more than $1.5 million in cash and assets allegedly embezzled by 62-year-old Grigory Arzumanov. Cell phone video shows him cuffed in the lobby Tuesday morning.
I'll show the news footage on that too. That is just a normal occurrence here. When the news covers it, they're like, just another day in the hood. But everything is like creepily desensitized, not because they're used to the crime.
Even buying nearly $30,000 worth of artwork found in his unit and more.
Anything from buffalo chicken wings to going to buffets to buffalo chicken wings to going to buffets to...
But because they are purposely minimizing it. They want you to think that this city is really fancy. it's really safe. It's not. What I also want you to depict in your head as I show you some of the news footage from this incident that happened here, those friends, and they're not probably like friends in the sense of when I usually use the word friends, but these fine people are who you are encountering on the walking track. Again, the city is trying to make it seem that this is such a fine, fancy, sexy place, but in reality, they even said in the video that the fine fellas who ended up at the building, they said they walked. They walked. So they are also apparently Aventura residents, which is crazy. There was another incident that went back a few years ago. As we go on the walking track here, you'll turn the corner to the causeway. There was an incident that went back a few years ago where a Uber driver who was, and I'll show you the news footage in the article so you could get a better idea of this. An Uber driver was basically boxed in by homies.
Thank you, Jennifer. Breaking news, traffic in the westbound lanes of the William Lehman Causeway impacted right now as police investigate a deadly shooting.
Officers telling us that an Uber driver was involved. Local 10 Sonella Sabovic, she's been on the scene.
By condo complex. That Uber driver then headed westbound along the causeway when he was cut off by a gray Dodge Caravan. The driver of that caravan then gets out and allegedly points 2 guns at the Uber driver in an attempt to rob him. Now that Uber driver was armed himself and ends up shooting that alleged robber to death.
Who were trying to rob the Uber driver, and again there was a boom boom incident. So that occurred right around the corner here. When you turn the corner here, you're actually going onto the causeway. And apparently from the footage in the news article, what they're saying is the car was coming over the causeway and heading to the airport. And in the news footage, the news anchor's like, this has just shot. I don't know if it was that article or the one about Turnberry on the Green. It was one of them, and one of the news anchors, he makes a comment, citizens of Aventura are just so shocked.
A shooting that stunned this community, especially people who live and stay at this condo.
And dismayed at this. It's like, no, they're not, okay? They're not shocked and dismayed, okay? These types of things are very active here in not necessarily getting footage, but almost happening. At the very least, you could say that. Probably every day in this city, you will see a fine fella with his other fine fella friends who then encounter other fine fellas, and then they'll stop and they'll whip around at each other and they'll poke each other and be like, is that so-and-so? And that happens every single day in Aventura. The fact that it doesn't turn into something is, you know, thank God. But if it did turn into something, the police will come back and they'll say, it was just a spirited debate between some nice young men, and that's why it's always important to talk things out and have like good manners, because we don't want things to turn into that. It's like, no, tell the people how it is. Tell the people that the crime rate in Aventura is through the fucking roof. Okay, the area is near another area that has an extremely high gang rate, probably one of, not only the worst in the state, but probably one of the worst in the country. And it's only maybe a mile or how far is that area?
3 miles.
3 miles from the mall. And that's what happened. So from what I'm understanding, the incident was kind of there with the boom boom incident with the Uber driver. When I'm talking about the First Amendment, this is an area, Aventura, back to what I was saying with the news anchor. He said something like, people are just shocked and dismayed. The reason I'm making these types of videos is that I have a problem morally knowing that people are being lied to when it comes to their safety. So, for example, if I was going to move to Orlando, I'm going to give you a really good example. I want someone to tell me the truth. Tell me what the area around Mall Millennia in Orlando is like. From doing some research, it's not so great. Tell me, I've heard stories about Orange Blossom Trail and these different stories. I'm going to tell people the truth so that when they go places, they don't get hurt, okay? For example, I do love the theme parks, but I wish that they would be a little bit more acknowledging of some of the safety concerns. For example, when you go to Universal Studios and you walk the walking track to the shops, to City Walk, there are some concerns with that, and I've talked about that in other videos. And I do love the parks, and I love Universal, and I love Disney, so this is not meant to in that way, but be honest with people on their safety so that they can make informed decisions on how to stay safe. And this is an area in Aventura where I do feel that it's a lot smoke and mirrors. You're not informed of the things that are going on. If you're saying that this walking track is a great walking track to be on, but people are walking to buildings and doing things like that in this area, and some people are gonna come back and say like, that was a random isolated incident. It was a random isolated incident in that it occurred and it got documented. However, on a daily basis here, I will notice, because I am mostly in this area, concerns of people where you certainly feel if they wanted to take it to that level, they could. If you're walking and you see a group of friends, and I'm not meaning friends in the terms of like the type that ICE needs to get rid of, but you know, other friends, and they whip around and they look at another group because they are the competitor in their area, if you know what I mean, that can easily turn into a boom boom incident. And that is something that is unfortunately something you should be aware of in this area. And I'm not trying to like scare you with it, it's just the truth. The area is near another area that is very known for that. And for people who have grown up in Dade County, you know this. You'll have people that'll try to minimize this video, it'll be like, this is Aventura, what are you complaining about? It's like, well, the news articles speak for themselves. Yeah, it's filming.
Is that it's still relatively early in the morning. The amount of the crowd walking and jogging on this track has gone down over the years by 80%.
Because the reality is, this was a nice area, so nice area 20 years ago. It was a nice area 30 years ago. A lot has changed here. There's a lot of crime here in this area. I'll show you some of the statistics. You'll notice that there's hardly anyone out on this walking track now. It's the morning. 10, 20 years ago, you would have so many people on this track that you couldn't walk. And the reality is, I think people have caught on to the safety concerns of this area. I think that the average person knows it's not safe, this area. And there is a smoke and mirrors that is occurring. If you're seeing things where, you know, the people are saying this is one of the best places to live, and then God forbid you come here and in your first week here you get mugged on the track, I'd rather tell you how it is. You should only be out here during a certain amount of time. You will also notice that I only walk from there basically down that way. This track will run the golf course. Do not go the track, because once you get on that side you will be isolated and there will be nowhere for you to run to. In the event that something happened or you encountered a bad person on the track, you're going to be running into traffic to get help from a car. So do not go past the area that is in front of the mall and the hotel. Okay, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to share. I'm burping, I don't know why. Probably from the excitement. I have had my own stories here in this city. And could I try to squeeze it all into this video? Sure. But I don't, some of them are not, some of it's not the time and place. Some of them I can talk about. It doesn't have, it's things from years ago. I think it needs its own video. Again, my purpose of this type of content, which is a lot why people like Caitlin Bennett are doing what they're doing, is she's going out and making content to protect people's First Amendment rights. And she's showing that when you go out and you make content, people are trying to take away those First Amendment rights. She's actually filmed in the past incidents where the police have come up to her and said something like, people don't like what you're saying. It's called the First Amendment. So if you have government officials that are coming up to you and saying to you, I don't like what you're saying, the next thing you know, you're going to be the UK, where they come up to you and you say, were you praying in your head? Now you're going to be arrested and go to jail for the next 2 years. And for people in my comments that are telling me that that's not happening, it is. People are being arrested off the street in their homes in the UK for thinking, posting a social media post, praying in their head. And that is not going to happen here. Purpose for this video, because I don't know how much longer I can last out here with the heat. I don't want to see people who go to places wherever that be. That's why I have not had a problem speaking about something that happens at Universal or Disney, even though I really do like Disney and Universal. I do not want to see people be unsuspecting and go to a place and be misinformed by the news media, or things that are downplayed, or things that are not covered. That's another thing I want to talk about with the crime statistics. The crime statistics here are pretty bad, but what you'll also notice with what I will say is that I don't feel everything here is reported. I think things are underplayed here, and so they don't get into the crime statistics. So again, I'm going to be the voice for others, because I have to be a voice. It's my moral purpose. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you again soon in my next video. Bye! So we're back out after eating and cooling down, and as you can see from the angle now, the way I am, that was Turnberry on the Green. This is Aventura Mall. This is Aventura Mall, and this is where I was before with the walking track, because I want you to understand how close everything is here. Again, this video is about being honest about places, so for the overall good of people. I don't want people to, in other words, read a story, to go to a certain place or visit a certain place and not be informed properly on dynamics and places, and whether, you know, places are safe or not. I talked about the incident that happened at Turnberry on the Green over there. I talked about the incident that was around the with the causeway, with the boom boom incident there. And now I'm going to show you another incident right here. So now I'm back onto the sidewalk here, and what I want to show you is this is the mall, and now we're going to stand in front of one of the hotels here that, you know, right here.
Marriott.
So this is a Residence Inn Marriott that we're approaching now. And once again, there was another story. I'll show a news clip of the story where...
Now police arrested the man they say is behind an attack at a hotel in Aventura. 27-year-old Ali Kadura is facing several charges, including sexual battery and kidnapping. According to the arrest report, it happened Monday at the Residence Inn Hotel on West Country Club Drive. Police say the suspect ambushed an employee who was cleaning a room, and when she was able to get away, he attacked another employee. Police say he ran out of the hotel and was found in a nearby parking garage.
Some person got into the building. I don't believe he had any purpose in being there. He was not staying there. He was not a worker there. And either did attack or almost attacked a woman who I believe was an employee of the hotel. And I'll show, as I show the news footage, it'll kind of fill in the gaps of whatever I'm not understanding about it. But again, this is a very fancy area. It's a very fancy area, and that is me kind of being sarcastic, right? It's a fancy area.
It was.
It's Aventura, but you're having incidents happen there, here, all over the place. And some people will say, again, yes, some of these incidents are separated by years. But again, don't forget my point I mentioned earlier, that the potential for these incidents are active. In other words, pretty much on a daily basis here in Aventura, you will notice someone either behind you, following you, people who have the potential of doing boom boom incidents, looking and glaring at each other. So the potential is there because the area is just ridden with, the area is gone. The area is gone. The area is gone to hell. People who grew up in this area, who are here since the city started, can tell you it was a beautiful city 20 years ago, or it was a beautiful city 30 years ago. For people in this area who watch this, you can remember the day that Target came to Aventura, and it was a big deal. So this is the Residence Inn Marriott here. Again, look at the distance we walked. And again, such a fancy area to have an incident there, an incident there, an incident right around the corner. But it's a fancy area. Take a nice walk on the walking track. And my purpose in this content is I have to be an authentic content creator who shows you life, and doesn't keep their voice hidden. Otherwise, in a way, I'm just as bad as everything else because I'm not showing you things. You know, you have families here, families walk here, families visit this area, people come to this area, and it's important in life to be the type of person that you share authentic truth with.
Oh, get a still shot.
I'll pull it from something, I guess. I don't know.